Oh, look, I could do it to the thing. Okay.
She's better than me.
Hi. This is
Hey,
so
how's it going?
exciting.
Oh, thanks. Hi, everyone.
You to the
Hi.
top there.
We're so excited. Thanks. I'm excited too. I was just watching America's Got Talent with my kids and I started crying. So if I look like I've been crying, it's because I was watching people succeed in America's Got Talent.
I love
I love
that.
that.
I love that.
I was like, oh, I gotta go. I have to go. That's really bad.
This was such a magical book. I cannot believe it was a debut.
I Thanks. Loved this book. I loved this book. The beginning, I told everyone else. So I started off this year like rough. I was like, I am not finding books that I love. And then I picked up this book. And if I tell you, I told everyone, I simultaneously read it and listened to it because I had an
Oh.
advanced listener copy. So I was listening to it like while I was driving. My kids are, I'm like, you cannot talk to me. Shush. Okay. And then when I would like get home and in bed, then I would like pick up where I was to like keep
Oh my
going
gosh.
with the book. So
Oh, Renee says I hugged it when I finished it and then texted my sister at 2:15 a.m. and told her she had to go buy it as soon as she woke up.
oh, that's so sweet. That's
It,
so
it
sweet.
really was, it really was magic.
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 Thank you. And we cannot believe this was a debut. It was a phenomenal accomplishment.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's sort of one of these things where I feel it's a little cheating to say it's a debut. I mean, technically it's a debut, but I've written several novels that didn't get through the gate. So I do feel like I've had a lot of 20 years of practice.
Yeah, we were going to ask you if this
Right.
was the first one that you written or the first one that was published.
It's kind of crazy that this is the first one that was published because epistolary novels are not the most popular.
Uh-huh.
And it's a harder one to, I feel like, find and want to publish and find its audience. So, how did
Yeah,
it come about?
I it is very crazy how it all worked. I mean, I wasn't really thinking I was going to give this book to my agent. She was trying to sell my previous book at the time and it wasn't selling and it never sold. And so she had kind of said to me, maybe you should start working on something else. So I started to write something else. And then I had this moment, it was during COVID, and I had this moment where I thought, okay, hold on. Do I really want to spend the next 3 years on this? I was kind of, I don't know, I wasn't sure. So I started writing the correspondent kind of as like a personal palate cleanser, which is, I think, why I thought I would write in the voice of Joan Didion, for instance, or like these very kind of audacious decisions that I made, like write in this format with this kind of character who like maybe isn't the most likable person to everyone, or, kind of whatever. So I wrote the book, The Correspondent, and then I was thinking I was going to go write something else. And so, but my agent said, what were you writing for the last, 9 months or something? And I said, nothing, kind of nothing. And she was like, well, do you want me to read it? And I said, I mean, you can read it for kicks, but you don't need to like, we're not going to sell this book. So she read the book and she's sort of like half agent, half therapist, and she sort of like calls me. She said, "Hey, how's it going? Fine. What are you doing?" "I'm weeding my garden." I don't know what I was doing. And she said, "So this book," and I was like, "I know, it's dumb." She was like, "I think maybe we could try to sell it." And I was kind of like, okay, maybe." I mean, I just didn't really think of it as a book. My other books have been more like literary kind of thick. I would say I write in kind of I have historically written in like an old style, an older style, which is harder to sell.
Mhm.
And so this book, it's funny. And so then she took it out and nobody was biting on it really. And it was out to maybe 15 editors or something. Nobody was biting. And then she was at a roundtable meeting with pitching her she's in Toronto, and so she goes twice a year to New York and sort of like pitches her whole agency's catalog. And so she pitched the catalog. She's pitching this catalog, kind of this round table. and she was pitching my book to a sort of junior agent or a junior editor. And then my editor, Amy Einhorn, who's like she's like a big senior editor, and she was sort of like grabbed Hillary afterward and was like, I would actually like to read that. And then I mean, it took a little bit, like some weeks went by, but she called Hillary on the weekend and she was like, "Did you sell this book? I want to buy this book. Did you sell this book?" And Hillary was kind of like, "No, I haven't sold the book. Like nobody wants the book." She was like, "I want the book." And now
Wow.
here we are.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Mhm.
It's amazing.
It's a wild story.
I can't believe you aren't a 75-year-old woman. You really captured her character.
I know, it's so funny. Okay, this is another good story about that. I'll try to be because I'm just like wandering on. So many people say that to me. And I've walked into events and
And
I
this is
sort of
coming to you from a 75-year-old woman. Just so you know.
I love it. Well, I that means a lot to me, first of all. But there's been several times where I've walked into something in person and I'm 39. I wrote the book when I was 35. And I walk in and somebody looks at me and it's like at an event or something. And I'm sort of like, "Hi." They're kind of like, "Hi. Do you have a ticket?" I was like, "No, I wrote the book." They're like, "What book?" I said, "This book that the event is about." They're like, "You?" With a name like Virginia, it's kind of like an old-fashioned name too. You know, so it's sort of like you think you're gonna get like somebody's grandma walking in, which is lovely. I'm glad people think that, but I'm like, I've got young kids and it's really funny though. I don't the funniest story about that was my translator in Germany is in her 70s and she was in retirement. And so when my book was purchased in Germany, they wanted to bring this woman,
Which
Regina,
is
out of
amazing, by the way. Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it came out this past week in Germany, which
Oh,
is
that's so
Wow.
fun.
and it's coming out in other places too, but it came out in the UK at the same time it came out in the US, but this was the first kind of like foreign sale that came out. But so Regina was in retirement and my editor came to her and she said, "Regina, we really want you to translate this book. We think you would really love it." And she said, "What's the book?" And they said, "It's this book in letters about this woman, Sybil, in her 70s." And Regina is just like Sybil, only German. And she said, "Who wrote this book?" And my editor Vera said, "This woman, she's like, how old is she?" And she said, "She's 36." And Regina was like, "No, I'm not doing it." And Vera said, "Why?" And she said, "There's no way a 36-year-old woman did a good job writing the life of a woman in her 70s." And Vera said, "Okay, I'll make a bet with you. You read the book. If she did a good job, you have to come out of retirement to do it." And so she read the book and she wrote to me and she said, "I'm coming out of retirement because
I
I
love
know."
that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's so cool. So
That's
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 awesome.
amazing.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Um,
Well,
okay, so can we talk a little bit about the writing process?
Oh yeah, please.
because how in the world did you, first of all, find the voice of a 70-something-year-old woman?
Right.
But also, how did you find a distinct voice for every one of the characters in this book? You could tell who was writing that it was a different person.
Mm-hmm.
So, how in the world did you accomplish that?
Well, thanks. That's really great to hear. I mean, that did take some labor, but the voice of Sybil really sort of came to me and then stayed. And I've heard interviews with Elizabeth Strout talk about the voice of Lucy Barton and the voice of Olive
Mm-hmm.
Kitteridge and how those characters sort of like came and sat next to her and that was the character and their voice was there. She tells a story about how she was unloading the dishwasher or loading the dishwasher and she heard Olive Kitteridge say to her, "Why would you load the dishwasher that way?" or something, or "Why would anyone load the dishwasher that way?" or something about the dishwasher. And she said like that was her voice and it was like clear as a bell to her. And she said Lucy Barton's voice came down from the ceiling on a thin string, this little voice. And she said it like hung right here over her head. I really had a weird experience like that with Sybil. I sat down to write the book. I sat down to write the first letter. And her voice just I feel like it kind of barreled towards me like a train and then it sat there. And I felt it was very once I had her voice, I had it. It felt like I could always kind of, when I sat down, I could easily kind of get back in the river of her thinking and the way she spoke. And the way she wrote letters was very, it felt like once it came to stay, and I was able to stay in it. I don't think if I ever tried again, I could do it again. I don't think I could get back into her voice, but I could get into it when I was in those like 18 months of writing the book. And then the other characters, that did take a lot of attention, I would say. I mean, it felt like I knew Sybil through and through. I was Sybil and she was me, and we were like together. This book was like me, my brain and her brain were like this weird merging thing. But then there were all these other people, and that felt like I had to think and kind of shift and revise a lot. Especially I was especially careful with like international characters, like people from other countries. I wanted to do a good job and also not be like patronizing with
Mhm.
like how you would, I don't know. I didn't want to presume about how someone would or wouldn't speak English if it wasn't their first language, because I don't know. So I tried really hard to be careful about that. And there's like the Italian American character, there's the Syrian character. Even there's at the end, there's the Belgian lawyer that writes the letter with like the when she receives the inheritance from Don. But those were ones I really had to work hard on, and I would say the most challenging voice to write was Harry Landy, because it was like a boy. I've never been a boy. A teenager. I mean, I've never been a teenage boy, and it's been a long time since I was a teenager. And also with him, I mean, it's never stated explicitly, but I saw him as being on the autism spectrum, and so
Mhm.
kind of that way of thinking was something I was sort of just using my imagination, and also some like observations I've had, of people and of writing by people who are on the autism spectrum. So that was really fascinating and challenging for me, and also for Harry because he ages so much. He goes,
Ages. I was going
Mhm.
to say it's
yeah,
not one point in time. It's not
right.
a story of one particular point. It takes place over
Yes.
years, and so you
Right.
see him growing up.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you
And
can
that was
see that in
hard.
his writing too.
Yeah,
That
you
was it was
can.
you could picture how he's growing up
Hmm.
through the letters, which
Well, that was hard to do. So thank you for saying that. I felt I had a ton of revision with Harry, because sometimes you would read it and think that seems too young, or that seems too old, or that.
I
Hmm.
have two teenage boys, and I thought it was spot on.
Oh, I'm so pleased when I hear those things. I just like feel I'm like a little glowworm.
Spot on. And there are some books that drive me crazy, actually.
Hmm.
Like there are some books that are like really like well-known books, and they will write a 10-year-old boy and having him talk like a 6-year-old, and it will drive me nuts. I'm like,
Yeah.
why didn't anyone say something that is not what a child of this age
Right.
Hmm.
sounds like? So,
You
and
know, that's so interesting you say that, because I have certain people in my life that read my drafts before they go to my agent, before I, think about setting them sail. And one of my friends was the one who corrected some of my Harry Landy progression. And it was interesting hearing you say that, because I think, did someone that wrote that not have a good reader that could say to them, this doesn't sound like a 14-year-old, this sounds like a 10-year-old. Like somebody has
right.
had to say that to me, and I had to receive that and think, okay, yes, thank you. And so it does make me think I'm really thankful I'm a good reader.
But I also think that some people don't want to hear
Hmm.
any of the input. They don't want editing, they don't want the input, and they're just gonna write it the way they want to write it.
Oh gosh, I would be a disaster without the input. So I'm glad I could have good people. And I hope everybody can find good people to help them or
I
receive.
think it's important because some books that are really well acclaimed, and we've had this conversation in book club with some of the other books. Not any of the books that necessarily we chose, but books that we've been reading. It's like this was like a great book, but they really needed to cut out 20
Hmm.
pages, 30
Hmm.
pages, something like that. Like some of it felt like they just stuffed more in there to make it
Yeah.
longer. And this moved you along and it moved the story and everything felt like it had its place and its purpose.
Mhm.
So, which made it so readable, I think.
And even like the tertiary characters that you add in, um, and some of those like authors that you choose to have her write to that are like not necessarily for the plot, but still show like a different side of her. Like, how did you decide to put different people in this book?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's so hard to remember. Is that's a horrible thing to say, but like, gosh, life is a lot. I'm like, what has even happened in the past 4 years? I had so much fun writing this book, and I just put in everything I wanted to. That's like the easiest way. I think because I didn't think this book was ever going to be seen by anyone but me, it was truly in an almost embarrassing to admit way, just a like enjoyable catharsis for me. I mean, some aspects of it were enjoyable and some aspects of it were agonizing. This book took a lot. It drew on every experience I've had in my life. This book draws on. I mean, every wonderful and painful experience from my own life is like kind of brought into this book, I would say, or most of the experiences. And you know, like even the character, um, her son Gilbert dying at the age of 8, like I chose that because my son was 8 when I was writing it. And I was trying to like get into a headspace of thinking, what would happen to me if my Jack died now? What
Right.
would I become? How would I like devolve? And so I heard this interview with Zadie Smith, and she was saying that you either write from your experiences or you write out of your fears because both are equally vivid, what you fear and what you've experienced. And I wrote this book out of my fear, out of and out of my experience. The aspect of losing a child. Are we allowed, sorry, are we allowed
No,
to like
yeah,
No,
you
no, no, no,
spoil
no.
away. No, we
Everybody's
just
read it.
discussed it. Yep.
a little late for me to be but yeah, so that aspect or like I would say my two, this is being very, very disclosing, but like my two big fears I would say would be going blind and losing my one of my children. And so those were like, so I sort of wrote out of those fears for the two main things that are going on with Sybil. But then also a lot of the experiences that she has had in the book or the whatever were drawing on my own life, but also I had so much pleasure in the enjoyable aspects of the story, like her relationship with Theodore or her friendship with Rosalie or her gardening club or her travel and finding family in Scotland. I mean, what a joy to be that age and be like, I'm actually Scottish and I have
Right.
Scottish siblings, like that would be the ultimate like pleasure, I think, in life would be to find something out like that. And so it was such a fun. It was agonizing on one hand, and it was really fun because I could do whatever I wanted to do. And with this book, I didn't know everything that was going to happen, but I knew where I wanted it to
One of
end.
my questions.
Yeah, and I think because I knew I was gonna have the God power of her life, like I get to say where her life started and I get to say where it ends. So I get to decide everything that's happened, and the reader doesn't get to imagine. I get to decide what's happened
Right,
from
right.
beginning to end. And so that was like such a satisfying experience as a writer to be able to decide this is what gets redeemed and this is what doesn't.
Right.
Right.
This is what is like happy about the end, and this is what isn't happy about the end. And so all those things, so I had the pleasure of thinking, okay, I want her to have a relationship with a child, but she doesn't like have anyone there. So like who comes out of the woodwork, Harry Landy, or
Okay.
I want her to fall in love again. Well, what person do we like materialize? I mean, there is such fun in like the puppet mastery of writing a novel. It's like you get to do whatever you want, which is
And
really
it
fun.
didn't feel like it was like contrived in any way, if
Mhm.
that makes sense. Like it felt like the story progressed very naturally without
High
You
compliment.
had these like hidden things from the beginning that were called back through later letters, which I think is so crafty because that doesn't
Right.
happen with every epistolary novel. And you
Mhm.
just did it in this way that was wonderful. Like even Gilbert throughout and her letter to Gilbert throughout the novel, which I do want to know why you chose to do that. Like we as readers didn't know who it was for a long time.
Mhm.
And then by the time we got there, and we have like differing theories on why you chose to have that letter throughout. When you get there to the end, I mean, oh my God, the final letter,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm gonna choke up just thinking about it right now. Like it was
Yeah.
so marvelous. So can you tell us a little bit about why you chose to have that kind of running correspondence throughout?
Uh, um, again, it's like I'm trying to think back to what I was thinking when I was writing it. It's like been a while, but there's something about the letter she's writing to Gilbert is the only authentic letters. Those are the only letters that are truly authentic in the book. I mean, I'm not saying she's lying in the other letters, but she's curating herself. She's
Right.
sort of like she's saying to Harry, you can see this part of me. You can see that I'm like maternal, and you can see that I am smart and that there are some things about you that are a little like me. But you can't see how I failed as a mother, and you can't see, whatever. And then she's showing she's pretty authentic with Rosalie, but even with Rosalie, she's not showing her the full side. She's showing it's like a diamond, like she's showing one face to someone, one face
Hmm.
to someone
Hmm.
else. And so in the book, you're learning who she is because you're getting to read all the different ways she like shows herself.
Right.
But I think with Gilbert, she's just saying the truth because she has nothing to lose. She's writing this letter to someone who's gone, so she can say everything. It's like it really begins in the very beginning where she's kind of saying to everyone, like, I had a little car accident, I'm fine, I have a little car accident. And then she says in her letter to Gilbert, I'm going blind and I'm terrified. It's like
Right. Right.
immediately you see, okay, whoever she's writing to this long letter, this is the truth of what she feels or what she thinks. And originally that letter was not written to Gilbert, actually. It
Oh, who
was
I
was
was
it
wondering,
written
like,
to?
was it a
Because
mystery?
yes,
Okay, who was
yeah.
it going to be for?
it was going to be written to Enzo Martinelli, the man she put in prison.
No way.
Yeah. That was kind of how it was originally.
No way.
What?
Yeah.
I
Stop.
did
I'm
not
like
picture that.
reimagining the whole
Well, and
story.
I mean, it went through lots of revisions when we made the change. And also, I'm like, would my editor kill me for telling you these things? I don't know.
No, no way.
But um, I
Could be
think
friends.
like, she I had it going through because I wanted her to have a person in her life that was like from like a long time. And so originally when I kind of constructed that through line, it was that she had put this man in prison and then kind of built a relationship with him over the years.
Wow.
But then it was like it didn't quite land. It didn't quite land. And so it was a change I made at the end, and not at the end. I mean, when I sold the book, then my editor and I were discussing like what is this kind of like there's some hard drive home that's like not happening. What is it that's not happening? And it was that. It was something about something with her. It had to be about her son because the book's really about grief. I mean, the book is funny and but if you say to me, Virginia, what's this book about? I would say the book's about long grief, grief over a long time. That's what I think the book's about.
Yeah.
And how that plays in a family and in a person. And, I think that's what the book's about. And um, so then when I made the decision to change the letter to be an ongoing letter that she had been writing to him, it I did change a lot, but not as much as you would think. I mean, she was still disclosing the truth of her life in a way, but it just changed. And then there had to be a way. So that's like a kind of what you were saying, how there's things that like start at the beginning and they get braided through, and then you're like, oh, at the end. I mean, the way she kind of mentions like the horse racing and Secretariat winning the Triple Crown, and then when she discloses the nickname she used for her son at the end, you're like, oh, that's like what was going
Mhm.
on here, you know? And so I think I mean, the point of that ongoing letter to Gilbert is it's like it's the spinal cord of the book, really. I mean, I think that's the mainstay, that's the spine, and
Mhm.
everything else is kind of like built onto it, I think. But I mean, it's the most important
Yeah.
part, probably.
Yeah. When we talk about Desi and Enzo and that whole thing, um, when she finally like kind of reveals to him like what happened, it was really interesting to think about how one bad day, one bad moment, when
Mm.
someone interacts with you can redefine their life, can change their perspective of who you are as a person, can define so many different things. And I'm wondering if you like that was an intentional lesson or because I like we got to that part and I was like, wow, like one bad
Right.
day. He caught her on a bad day.
Mm.
And that his whole life, the whole family, the impact of that was tremendous. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's very
Yeah,
powerful.
and it's like the same, I mean, it's the same with Sybil. Like
Mhm.
she had a bad day and she was not paying attention and was prioritizing work on a family vacation, which like I've done that, you
Yep.
know. I mean,
Right.
I've I've been annoyed with my kids and said like whatever, just like I don't care, just go,
Right.
I'm
Right.
busy, you know. And um yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting people ask me a lot when we're talking about the book, like about themes or sort of like what I was trying to do or say. And I just feel like I was trying to write a good story. And that's always what I'm trying to do is just write a good book that you want to read. Like I just want to write a book that I want to read and that other people want to read. Um, and whatever like lessons or themes like readers take away, and I know I do this when I read too, that's like, I didn't do that. I wrote a story, and whatever you took, I mean, I receive so much mail from people about this book and
Ask
what
about that.
Yeah.
oh, crazy. And the things people, I mean, today I received an email and I was just crying reading this email about this woman's life experience. And you know, it's amazing what people take away, like what you take away or what someone else takes away, and things I never intended, you know. And actually, it's funny. I wrote that into the book when Larry McMurtry replies to Sybil, and he says, like, it's amazing what people have taken away from my books, things I never even intended.
Hmm.
I've heard, and I think as a writer, I think as a, I mean, I don't know why anybody writes. I know why I write. I want to write a good story. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm not trying to teach a lesson. It's not a morality. It's like I like to write a good story. It is, and I don't know, I think a lot of writers are that. It's that. Just want to write a good story. Um, and then what kind of comes out of a good story is like what comes out of life, which is we just learn things and we make mistakes and we fail and we hurt people and we do things we wish to God we could undo and
Yep.
wish to God we could unsay, but you can't. And that's life. Like this is all of life. Your life, my life, everyone's life is this, you know, day by day trying to like, please let me get through this day doing a good job by the people I love and for the world. And inevitably at the end of many days, you know, thinking about like, I wish I wouldn't have said that. I
Right.
wish I would have done
That
that.
I
happens to
mean,
everybody.
I think
You know?
the reason why it's so heartbreaking is because of how easy it is to relate,
Yeah.
right? This isn't someone who made the decision to get in the car drunk and then
Right.
killed someone, right? That this wasn't like a malicious or this is a spur of the moment thing that happens
Right.
all
All the
the
time.
time. Like almost like a freak accident. You said something and it could happen to anybody at any time, which is why you can relate to this grief that she's carrying with her. And I liked the arc that she had of apologizing to her kids of like not looking after their well-being after she was experiencing this loss and
Mhm.
actually realizing like, sorry, I was a really shitty mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that made her all the more realistic and all the more likable. I liked her a lot, even though she was very imperfect.
Mhm.
I liked her a lot. I thought she was very intelligent, and I thought she was doing the best that she could.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, there was nothing malicious
No.
in some of the dumb things that she does.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's funny you talk about you don't know why other reader or authors write for the reason they write. But if you think about it from a reader's perspective too, like we're all pulling different things out because we've all had different life experiences and we're all looking at the same thing that you wrote through an entirely different
Yeah.
lens. And so different storylines, different plot lines with any book are going to resonate for different reasons with other people. And I think that's like the glory of a good book club is when you all get to sit down and talk about it and you find a book like this that's so meaty and juicy and there's so many different threads that you can follow and like what spoke to you. And there are parts where we're all chatting and someone brings something up and I'm like, I don't even remember that part because it like that maybe didn't resonate with me in the way that like this one scene did. Like
Yeah.
it's the joy of reading.
Right.
It
Right.
really is. And like reading and being able to even talk about it. Yeah, it's really to me like so I studied writing in Trinity College in Dublin with Claire Keegan. Are you familiar with Claire Keegan? She wrote Small Things Like These and Foster. Anyway, she's sort of like I think she's sort of like a living master, one of like the living masters of fiction. And there's so many things she taught us in school. Two things stand out to me, and they relate to to some of the things we've said. But she said, when you're writing a story, a short story or a novel or a novella, anything that's fiction, you're creating a world inside of a bubble, and you're asking someone to climb inside and stay with you in this bubble world until the story is over. And she said, if you ever have a moment in your story where your reader sits back out of the book, they're like kind of tunneling in and then they do this and say, I don't believe that. That's it. It's terminal for your story. That always need to be writing something that is true, that's actual, that your reader never second guesses you. And
Mhm.
I thought about that. I always think about that when I'm writing. And I thought about it a lot in this book. Like one of you said something about nothing felt contrived, and that was so important to me. And I was very careful that nothing felt contrived, that nothing felt like shoehorned in just for the sake of the plot,
Yes. Yeah.
especially with letters. Like nobody would say that in a letter or whatever. You're just saying that because you need us to know. That's that moment of I don't believe you, and then that's over.
Right.
Was
I
really
never thought about it that
Never.
way, but yes, 100%. And I'm
yeah,
like that would never have happened. And then like that was it. And
yeah.
Right.
we'll be having a conversation and I'll be like, that would never have happened. Like that's it. I'm done.
Yeah,
Like,
over it. And I mean, it's your example with the dialogue, like the age of boys in dialogue. That's a moment like that for you where you're like, I don't believe you. And
Mhm.
then the rest of the book, you can't get back in the bubble. Once you're out of the bubble, you're out. It's over. You
Right.
can't go back
I've
in.
never
You're
heard
talking about the difference between a three-star book and a five-star book with,
Yeah,
and I've never
yes.
really been able to put
No,
but you're
never. That's
right. Like when
exactly
you're
it.
reviewing a book and you realize like it was great, except these few things really irked me because they never leave you as the
yeah.
reader.
You can't unsee it. Once you
Right.
see,
No.
you
And
can't
now
unsee
you've
Once,
said
right.
that,
And now even
and
when you
that's
get
it.
back in the bubble, like
Yep.
you were
Every book
out.
I read from now on, you'll be like, I'm gonna be writing them in my reviews. I was out of the bubble and that was it.
out of the bubble, terminating. The other thing she says, which, okay, I have to stand up to show you this. You're gonna think I'm crazy. Okay, so Claire Keegan says, can you all still hear me?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
she says, in like frat houses, how they would have like beads hanging down the doorways, like hidden.
Yeah.
Okay, so Claire Keegan says, when you start a book, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, the beads are hanging down the doorway, and you have all the strands. And as you're writing the book, you're braiding the strands and you're walking backwards and you're braiding all the strands you built into the book. And at the end, every strand has to fit into the hair tie of the braid. So she's saying that everything you put into the beginning of the book is at that door jamb. And everything is a strand. And when you're making the book, you're walking backwards and you're making this braid.
Yes.
And at the end, they all have to be in there. And if they weren't in the
Yeah.
end, they shouldn't be at the beginning.
Yes, yes, because why do you mention things if you're not going to talk about it later on?
That.
There's no point in that. And why are you leaving me hanging?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Yes,
exactly what Claire says. So,
I love that.
like for that, that's the other thing. So like everything in the book has to matter at the end. And so that was part of this book for me too. Like if something's in there, it has to matter at the end. It has to go into the final feeling.
And it's almost amplified because you're writing in letters. So it's
Yes,
not even like, let me put an erroneous detail in the beginning of a book
right.
and it doesn't matter. Yours
Right.
is like every
Yeah,
letter has to be
yes.
intentional and have a purpose.
And relate to something later on. And it did.
Mm-hmm.
It did because at the end
It all
it
comes
it, it
together.
all it all came together. It was all satisfied. There was like this is why I was like, yes. I finished it and I called everyone. I called my mom and I'm like, you need to buy this book or put a hold on the library. Like it's not out yet. I'm like, we must do this.
Oh, I love it. I'm so glad. It makes me feel great. I mean, I know it's not a perfect book, but I feel proud of it and it's really cool to hear people respond well to it. So,
Yeah, no, that was
No, it was
it,
wonderful.
it was
This is like a more fun question, but did any of the authors that you wrote to in the book read the book and then say like, oh my God, it was so fun to see like a letter written?
I mean, Ann Patchett blurbed
Right.
it.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so that was really
By the way,
cool.
a cause for celebration.
I know she just wrote her blurb when her blurb came through. That was crazy. I mean, there's some amazing, I've had some really amazing feedback from um authors I really respect on the book. Like Margot Livesey, she's a Scottish author, or she's like Scottish and she also teaches in Boston, I think.
Okay.
She like the road from Belhaven and she wrote The Boy in the Field. Like when she read the book and got in touch with me to say this book is phenomenal. I mean, that really meant it means a lot to me to hear from Ann Patchett. Brett Lott wrote Jewel. He read the book. He reached out to me afterwards and said like this book is phenomenal. I just heard last week from like Alice Hoffman. I've heard some from like
That's
Oh,
amazing.
really
wow.
amazing people. I've heard from like I can't even say some of the people because I think it's like not supposed to be publicized, but some like very, very cool people. And I just think I can't believe these people like my book. I mean, it feels sort of like like stunning. The Ann Patchett thing is really cool because she and I have been pen pals for 10 years.
No
No
way.
way!
That is
Like
so,
actual pen pals, like writing
Yeah.
letters.
oh,
Yes.
I love that
I
so
love that.
much. I
Okay.
bet you your letters are so much better than
Anything I've
the
ever written.
letters that I write that are so bad.
I'm sure that's not true. I mean,
My daughter goes to camp and our kids go to camp and I have to write letters. So I mean they were emails, but I'm like, man, like my letters suck. I have like nothing to say. Like, and after reading this, I was like, man, those are like so much better.
Hmm.
My letters.
honestly, though, someday when you're not around anymore, those letters will be a treasure. So don't worry what it says. Those will be a treasure, just like letters I have are treasures. I
You and
think,
Aunt Patrick are pen pals.
yeah,
How
yeah,
did
but
it
it's like
happen?
it's a crazy story. And so okay, like 10 years ago, long story short, 10 years ago she wrote Commonwealth. I love her. I love all of her work. I think she's it. I think she's like one of our sort of like Claire Keegan, like one of our living masters of writing fiction.
Hmm.
And I wrote to her, care of her bookstore, just wrote her like what I thought about her book. I loved it. I thought it was exceptional. I really love Commonwealth. I know it's not like the fan favorite, but it's like really, I think it's
My
perfect.
favorite too. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. And so I wrote to her to tell her, just, I try to write to authors and artists and different people when their work is meaningful to me. Um, and so I wrote her this letter. I said, just kind of said what I thought, and she wrote back to me, and she just was really lovely and thankful. And she's every bit as wonderful as you want her to be. And you think like maybe she's really great, but maybe she's not. Like never meet your heroes, but she's better. She's like better than you would imagine. She just is impeccable. She's kind and warm-hearted and generous and has like just beautiful, beautiful presence in the world, I feel. And she wrote back to me. And so I was writing books since I was 19 and now I'm 39. So it took me 20 years to get to this point. And all during those years we were pen pals. I mean, it's not like we write all the time, but we maybe like twice a year we would write to each other. And she was she's always been my sounding board. Like I had an agent relationship like several books ago and it went sideways. It was really terrible. It was really painful. The book fell through. All of the work I had done fell apart.
Oh,
She communicated with me then. She was just kind to me. She kind of like counseled me through how to manage it. And
wow.
when I was deciding about moving abroad for my degree in writing, my children were 3 and 6. We were like, do we really leave the US and move to Dublin and do this with our kids? And she kind of counseled me through that. And then when I was kind of in the throes of decisions with publishing and trying to sell my book, she just was kind to me. I mean, not anything crazy, but I would write to her, she'd write to me, she'd check in, I would check in. She's just kind. She's just a kind person. And I think like we just have an interesting relationship. Like I was this girl trying to write books and she like writes books, but she used to be me and so long story long, she got hold of my editor got wind that I have this like kind of infrequent pen pal relationship at a distance with Ann Patchett. She says to me, "Would she blurb your book?" And I was like, "No, I'm not doing that. I don't like I'm not asking her for that just feels like weird. I'm not gonna ask her." And so she said, "That's fine. I totally get it." I said she's already like been kind enough to me. And so she ended up getting the book. I guess my editor sent her the book without having me ask her, and I didn't know she was reading it. And so she read it, and then she provided the blurb, which, like that kind of a thing as a debut author, and I have no connections to anyone in this world of publishing, and nobody knows me, and I have nothing to get my name out there. Having Ann Patchett's name on the front of your book is like rocket fuel. I
Right.
mean, she did me a huge, huge generous kindness by reading my book and taking the time to say something lovely about it. So I am very grateful to her for that.
How has the process been like since publication? Are you now like are there other books that people are interested in now? Like
Yeah.
how's it gone now that you're a published author?
I think I'm having a pretty unique experience. I mean, it's going really, really well, like in a practical sense. Like it's really selling well. This week, today, it was on like, it's number 6 on the Los Angeles Times bestseller list. It's
Amazing.
number 7 on like the indie books bestseller list. It's been on USA Today. It's at like 34 on USA Today. I mean, it's like really selling
Right.
crazy. Which I don't, nobody, it's such a crapshoot to publish a book as a debut author. Like either you kind of light a wildfire or you don't, and it's more likely that you don't. And I think that's kind of what my expectations were pretty low. Like I think being such a like a repeated failure for like 2 decades makes you sort of be like, well, if anybody will pay me $20 for this book, I'll just like count it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, no, that's the wrong way to look at it. Thomas Edison said he didn't fail 9,999 times. He learned 9,999 ways to not make a light bulb.
Right.
Do it. It's so true. And I do see it like, in hindsight, all of it goes into the pot of who you are and who you're becoming as a person and who you're becoming as a writer. And I say yes to all of that. I say yes to the experience, even though it was agonizing. But part of my story and part of like what I can speak about to people is like the experience of failing
Mm,
is very painful. And it is like you write a novel, it takes you years. You put all of your brain and heart into this thing, and then it's like, nope, 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 nope. Put it away.
Which I
Repeat.
think to me would be
Repeat.
the hardest part of
mhm.
actually being a writer,
Yeah.
not even writing the book, but then sending it out to people and basically having your heart out
It's
on a platter for
Right.
people to either like and to shred it up into 1,000 pieces. To me, that would be the hardest thing. You have to be so vulnerable.
it's such a vulnerability, and I will say, I think no, like nobody has a thicker skin than I have. You can't hurt my feelings. Like it's enough times that somebody says, nope, 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 in every language, in every volume, in every moment, for so many years. And that I never want to stop talking about that part of it
Mhm.
because I never want to like delete that was a part of the story. And like that's kind of what the correspondent is about. Like how disappointing and surprisingly painful is living. Like
Mhm.
it's so disappointing. There's so many disappointments. There's like so many beautiful things, but there are so many agonizing things that like I didn't know this was how life was going to feel. I didn't know I was going to fail and make $0 for 2 decades, like the first 2 decades of my adult life. I mean, I was making money doing like shit jobs on the side, but like not doing what I loved.
Right.
And
Right.
I think, you know, the whole, that's part of the story. Like that's part of my
But that
story.
is the but that and that's like the beauty of it,
Yeah.
that it's the good with the bad. It's how we frame it, how we move on, how we take all the pieces and put them together, and how we frame them
Mhm. Yeah.
to be the picture of our lives and
Yeah. And it's like
You just
she
saw
said,
the Pittsburgh Steelers Cup. Are you from Pennsylvania?
good observation. Um, I grew up half my life in Westchester outside Philly.
Oh,
Statewide.
good. We're on the main line right
Oh
now.
my God,
It's
that's
so funny.
great.
Okay.
But my husband is like 400 years generations of Pittsburgh people. So that's why we have like I mean like most I've been on so many Zoom interviews where somebody's like, "Are you holding a Steelers cup?" I'm like, "Which one?" Pirates. I was wearing a Pirates hat in one like thing that was online. It's just funny. Yeah,
That's so funny.
so go
Love
Steelers.
that.
So what has like the other books like are they coming out of the vault now? Like what's going
I
on?
don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm trying to I think I'm still having a little bit of imposter syndrome with all of this. Like somebody was like, "You should make demands." I'm like, "No, I'm not gonna make any demands." But I like some that I have to do all this like traveling now, and they're like, "Tell them you want to fly first class." I'm like, "No, no, I can't tell them that." Um, but I think I would
Well, then
love.
you're coming to Philadelphia.
Right.
I actually I don't have anything scheduled now, but I would love to on my like paperback tour and fly first class to get there.
Done. We will
Done.
make it
We, we,
happen.
we have some connections with some bookstores. We will make it
Yes,
happen.
we
You
can
let
do
us
That
know.
that.
would be so fun. Okay, ping on the side, we'll talk about this because
Yeah.
that could actually happen. But yeah, there's probably 3 books that I would like there's 2 that I would love to have come out that are some of the old backlist of things I've written. I don't know if they will, and I also am always working on something new, and so it's like the shiny new thing, you know.
Mhm, mhm.
And so like right now I'm revising the first draft of something I just finished. I finished the first draft last week and I'm revising. So it's like I think I'll try to sell that one next.
Okay.
And I think now the beauty of all this, which is really hard to believe, is like now that the correspondent is like doing its work, then I think I have a good chance of being able to sell another book, which is really exciting.
Well, it's exciting for us
Yeah.
as
Well,
readers
thanks.
because
I
I
hope
would
everyone
like
likes
to read it.
Yeah. I think
Um,
great.
there
Like give me the whole backlog.
I was gonna say, yeah,
I'll
give
read
it
it
all.
all.
We'll read them.
I'll send them to you guys as PDFs. You can read them on your iPads. I
Oh,
was
that would be amazing.
I was thinking, this is kind of fun. In my new book, one of the characters from the correspondent is woven into the new book. So that's
Oh, no way.
Can you
yeah.
tell us who?
No. In
Not,
case I can.
not Sybil. It's
Hey, listen, you
just
both you both get one guess, and if you don't, you get one guess who it is.
Oh, where's the character guide when I need it? Um,
I'm guessing Harry. Oh,
no, that one was
Not
John.
Harry. But I do think Harry would make a good story in and of himself.
Is it? I forget her name. What is her name? Who? Um, she's like, Miss. Oh God, what is her name?
which
The
one?
the 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 young girl who's like, I don't know how to write a letter. And
Caroline Dobson.
yeah, is that her? Is
Not
it her?
Caroline. Mm-mm.
Oh man,
I was
that's a
going
good,
deep.
that's a good.
I'm really glad you didn't guess because I'm a pretty honest person. I probably would have been like, yes, that's that. But yeah, no, we'll see. I mean, I wrote the book I was trying to sell when during COVID when I started writing the correspondent is to me like my best work. So I hope that one comes out someday, but we'll see.
That's your best work, man.
I,
This is hard to top.
Well,
mean,
I don't know. It's very different. I will never write a book in letters again. That ship sailed. So
and
Never
you
say
should.
never.
I was gonna say, you don't mess with perfection.
No, it is. It is perfect.
So,
It is perfect. It's wonderful.
well, I feel bad because I feel like we've kept you quite a while.
oh, it's all right.
Goodness.
Like,
Yes. I know. I was like, we're gonna aim for 30. It's fine. Maybe
I
40.
know, and I don't have my glasses on, so I'm like, what time?
I'm not gonna lie. It is 8:48. We did promise you you'd only have to be here until 8:30, and we're sorry.
Okay, it's okay. I've had a blast.
Oh, we got a Go Steelers comment down here.
The Steelers.
The writing program kid in me loves this so much.
Yeah, tell me anything I need to know from the people.
And then we got those books that are too long often fall victim to telling too much. Epistolaries have to rely so much more on showing versus telling, and I think this book really nailed it. It was exactly as long as it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. But you guys, these things are so fun because, I have this imposter syndrome. I'm like, maybe it's not that good. And then you all like, it's great. I'm like, okay, great.
Well, the funny part about like
You are a
hosting
lovely human.
a book club is that not everybody likes every book. And so
Right.
sometimes that leads to a better discussion.
Totally.
But when we're picking them, we're like, no, like we want everyone to like it. Like we like give you the book. We really hope that you like it as much as we do. And for this one, everyone was like
Everyone likes it.
amazing.
Everyone loved
I'm
it.
telling other people about it.
Yeah.
Renee said she finished it at 2:15 and immediately texted her sister and was like, you need to buy this book.
And
So that is
you are a lovely human.
Oh, thank you. Oh my gosh. You don't live with me, but thank you.
This was a wonderful discussion.
This was
Thank you.
fantastic. This was exactly what I needed today. I was having it's the first few days of school and my oldest son is away at college and I miss him so much.
That makes me want to cry.
I miss him so much. And so I was like messaging him, I'm like, I miss you. Like you're just not here. So this is what I needed just to like have like smiles.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you guys so much, like for picking it up early. And, all of this was like, hopefully this goes well. It needs some groundswell. So you guys and some other folks who kind of like read it early and said, we love it. I mean, that was it was really heartening for me before we knew if it would do well. So thank you so much.
Of course.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. This is wonderful. Can't wait to read whatever comes out next.
Gosh, I know, me too. Wish me luck. All right, bye everyone. Thanks for coming.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
See ya.